चालू करेंगे.
Call them. I'll wait. Sure.
नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने.
Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namini.
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jaya Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jaya Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jaya Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jaya Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे
राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे
जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे
जय कृष्ण बलराम
जय कृष्ण बलराम बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम
जय निताय गौरंगा जय गौरा हरि
जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग
जय श्रीनिवास गोविंदा जय श्रीनिवास गोविंदा
जय श्रीनिवास गोविंदा श्रीनिवास गोविंदा जय श्रीनिवास गोविंदा
जय प्रहलाद नरसिम्हा
जय प्रहलाद नरसिम्हा जय प्रहलाद नरसिम्हा
जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद
जय प्रभुपाद
निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल
जय विष्णु पार्वम सुप्रवाच कचर स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter number 17, text 41. So we have two verses, so I will read the first verse, shloka and translation by myself, and second verse we will be repeating. The first verse, text number 40. Amuni panchasthanani hi adharma prabhavah kalihi auttareyena dattani Nyavasattanideshakrit. Translation. Thus the personality of Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those 5 places. Purport. Thus the age of Kali began with gold standardization, and therefore falsity, intoxication, animal slaughter and prostitution are rampant all over the world. And the saner section is eager to drive out corruption. The counteracting process is suggested above, and everyone can take advantage of this suggestion. Text 41. Please repeat this. Athaitanina seveta bhubushuhu purusha kvachet visheshato dharmashilo Raja Lokapatir Guruhu Athaitanina Seveta Bhubushuhu Purusha Kvachet Visheshato Dharmashilo Raja Lokapatir Guruhu. Athaitanina seveta bubushu purusha kvachit visheshato dharmashilo raja lokapatir guruhu. Athaitanina seveta bubushu purusha kvachit Visheshato dharmashilo Raja lokapatir guruhu. Athaitanina seveta bubushuhu purusha kvachit Visheshato dharmashilo Raja lokapatir guruhu. Synonyms. Atha, therefore. Etani, all these. Na, never. Seveta, come in contact. Bhubushuhu, those who desire well-being. Purushaha, a person. Kvachit, in any circumstances. Visheshataha, specifically. Dharmashilaha, those who are on the progressive path of liberation. Raja, the king. Lokapatihi, public leaders. Guruhu, the brahmanas and the sannyasis. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the 4 above-mentioned irreligious principles. Please repeat. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis should never come in contact with the 4 above-mentioned irreligious principles. Purport. The brahmanas are the religious preceptors for all other castes, and the sannyasis are the spiritual masters for all the castes and orders of society. Thus, the brahmanas and sannyasis have very great responsibilities in society. So also do the king and the public leader, who are responsible for the material welfare of all people. The progressive religionists and those who are responsible human beings, or those who do not want to spoil their valuable human lives, should refrain from all the principles of irreligiosity, especially illicit connection with women. If a Brahmana is not truthful, all his claims as a Brahmana at once become null and void. If a sannyasi is illicitly connected with women, all his claims as a sannyasi at once become false. Similarly, if the king and the public leader are unnecessarily proud or habituated to drinking and smoking, certainly they become disqualified to discharge public welfare activities. Truthfulness is the basic principle for all religions. The four leaders of the human society, namely the sannyasi, the brahmana, the king, and the public leader, must be tested crucially for their character and qualification. Before one can be accepted as a spiritual or material master of society, he must be tested by the above-mentioned criteria of character. Such public leaders may be less qualified in academic qualifications, but it is necessary primarily that they be free from the contamination of the four disqualifications, namely gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yesterday, I received a group of Germans from Berlin, Frankfurt, Hamburg, etc. So all of these were board members of SAP Labs and were on a visit to India. They had sent us a mail to the Public Relations Department as follows. Greetings from SAP Labs India. We are pleased to inform you that a delegation comprising of our esteemed top management, consisting of 15 to 18 individuals, is scheduled to visit India from Germany. As part of their cultural exploration and to embrace the rich heritage of India, they express a keen interest in visiting the ISKCON temple in Yashwantpur, Bangalore, on the forthcoming Saturday, November 4, 2023. There will be 15 to 18 people, 4 to 5 cars, 1 Mercedes, 1 commute, and 2 to 3 Innovas. So seem to be big people. So I took them around the temple and was trying to explain about what ISKCON is, what our temple is, the deities, etc. So they were mildly interested and they were respectfully listening. I could see how difficult it was for them, in spite of that, to understand what this whole culture is, what this form of worship is, what these deities are, and such. Then I began to wonder, how did Srila Prabhupada give this elaborate form of worship and Krishna consciousness to the Westerners, to the non-Indians? Just mind-boggling, isn't it? So in Srila Prabhupada's own words, which he spoke on an arrival address in Los Angeles, February 9th, 1975, Prabhupada says this. So anywhere, these are Prabhupada's words, it doesn't matter either in India or outside. People thought like that Krishna consciousness is the monopoly business for the Indians or for the Hindus. They were thinking like that. It cannot be preached. Nobody will take it. But I thought, Srila Prabhupada thought, if Krishna is God, why it will not be taken by everyone? It must be taken. So I was not very much hopeful to become successful. Prabhupada also says this. When I was in the Boston port, I wrote one poetry that I do not know why I have been brought here. How these people will take Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada says, as soon as I will say these 4 regulative principles, they will ask me to go away. It is very difficult for this country or this part of the world to follow the 4 principles of regulative life. No illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, and no intoxication. Even Lord Zetland, Prabhupada says about the past, what happened, when he was given this formula for becoming advanced in spiritual consciousness, he flatly replied, "It is impossible for us." Yes, but impossible thing can be made possible by the grace of Krishna. That is possible. Krishna is all powerful, provided we are serious and sincere. That is the main business. We must be very serious and sincere. Then Krishna will give you all intelligence. Another place Prabhupada said in Los Angeles in a lecture in November 15, 1968, of course, my Guru Maharaj asked me when I was 25 years old. I first met him. He asked me to do this task. But I thought, let me adjust my family life. Then I shall do this. But I took it very seriously. But family life, never it was adjusted. So he forced me at the ripe old age to take up this work. So I tried to make an experiment that nobody had done. Let me try. But I tried sincerely. So by the grace of my Guru and Krishna, they favored me. When I was on the Commonwealth Jetty Pier, that is in Boston, yes, I was thinking that, who will hear me? As soon as I shall say to these people that no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, immediately they will say, please go home, don't talk here. Because I know that this is their daily life. But by the grace of Krishna, they agreed. So, today even in India, it is so difficult to convince people to follow these 4 regulative principles. In those days, at the peak of materialism, in the kingdom of Maya, United States of America, Europe, amidst hippies, Srila Prabhupada gave Krishna consciousness with uncompromised teachings of regulative principles. In another lecture in November, in Bhubaneswar, Prabhupada says, one cannot become Krishna conscious. As soon as one becomes Krishna conscious or one becomes in touch with Krishna consciousness, sprashati anartha, immediately he becomes delivered from all these misgivings of material existence. That is the test. How one is in contact with Krishna consciousness will be tested by how he is freed from all misgivings. Just like, for example, not very gigantic example, very small. Our students, as soon as they take to Krishna consciousness, initiated, immediately so many misgivings they give up. So many. The basic principles of misgiving, what is that? No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling. It is very difficult for persons, especially in the Western countries, to give up all these bad habits. They are so much entangled. Even Lord Ronald Say, Marquis of Zetland, one of my god brothers, some years ago in 1935, he went to London, and Lord Zetland, Marquis of Zetland, Lord Ronald Say, he was a Scotsman. I don't think whether he is living now, but he was very interested in Indian philosophy. He was once governor of Bengal. So in our childhood we had seen him. He came to our college, Prabhupada says. So he inquired from our god brother, this preacher, that Banerjee, he was Mr. Banerjee, Goswami Banerjee. Banerjee, can you make us Brahmana? Banerjee said, why not? Yes, we can make you Brahmana. Then you have to follow the rules, the 4 principles of rules. Then you can become a Brahmana. He said, "Oh, it is impossible." He said, "You see, such a big personality. He is interested in philosophy. He holds some position, responsible man." But he flatly denied. It is not possible to give up these habits. But our students, hundreds of students who are coming to Krishna consciousness, they are giving up easily. They don't feel any inconvenience. This is sprashati anarthapagamo yadartaha. Krishna consciousness, the first test is that in the beginning, from the very beginning, all misgivings will be given up. Our students, Prabhupada is saying very loudly, can 24 hours sit before a deity and chant Hare Krishna. Bring any student of any yoga society. Let him sit down for 5 hours. He will fail. They are so restless. Simply official 15 minutes, half an hour, by closing the eyes and murmuring something, meditation. These boys are 24 hours engaged in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is so nice. That is the test. All these boys, any man can come and ask them how they are feeling. Unless they feel some spiritual satisfaction, how they can give up everything and be engaged in this Krishna consciousness chanting? Therefore, this is the test. So Srila Prabhupada stressed about how by giving the holy name and asking to follow the four regulative principles seriously and being sincere, how he could achieve what was previously impossible. In another interview which Srila Prabhupada gave to a very famous newspaper, the New York Times. In India, the top one newspaper is Times of India. Similarly, in America, the top one newspaper, New York Times, Srila Prabhupada was interviewed by them in 1972 in Gainesville, Florida. So Prabhupada is talking in the interview with this New York Times reporter. So he asked him that, do you have many followers in Krishna consciousness? So Prabhupada is replying, well, this is a very difficult job naturally. We don't have a large number of followers. As soon as you try to sell a diamond, you cannot expect many customers. Nonetheless, diamond is a diamond. Even if there are no customers, the number of customers is not the test. The customer must pay the value of item. Usually many people ask, Bro, I see so many other spiritual organizations, they have so many followers. But ISKCON, although it is famous, not so many followers are there. So Prabhupada is giving answer. Customers are not the test. Diamond is diamond. In this society, we propose that you give up illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication and gambling. When people hear this, they go away saying, oh, Swamiji is very conservative. But I cannot become liberal and tell everybody, go ahead and do all nonsense. You can become God conscious. I cannot possibly recommend that. Therefore, my first condition is that if someone wants to become my student, he has to follow regulative principles. Consequently, I do not have many followers. But I do have a select few. Because they are select, they will bring about revolution in this world. One moon is sufficient to dissipate darkness. If there is one moon, there is no need for millions of stars. It is useless to expect a large number of followers. We want only one good follower. If I can get one man to become Krishna conscious, I will consider my mission fulfilled. If you talk to whatever small number of followers I have, you will find they talk better than any great philosopher, great politician, great scientist. That is the quality of my students. Then Prabhupada took a dig at the New York Times itself. What is the point in talking nonsense? One's words may be simple, but they should be valuable. Every day your employer, that is New York Times, is printing so many newspapers. On Sunday especially, we know even in our country it is the same. The paper is so big that one can hardly carry it. But after reading it an hour, people throw it away. Here, this book, Bhagavad Gita. People keep it and read it for a lifetime. And in this way, it has been read for the past 5,000 years. Give such literature, and that will be taken and kept forever. Then the New York Times newspaper is asking, can you really expect to change the whole society? Prabhupada is saying, that I have already explained. The change is up to you. It is your choice. If everyone becomes God conscious, the world becomes the kingdom of God. So then the reporter is saying, many people have tried to change the world, but we see that they have failed. Many people have tried to see God, but they do not succeed. Then Prabhupada says, that is because their purpose is not strong. That is due to Maya, forgetfulness, just like darkness and light. If your light is strong, there is no darkness. But if you have no light, or if your light is not very strong, there is darkness. This is the principle. If you want to drive away darkness, you must bring light. That is the only medicine. You don't have to make a separate endeavor to drive away darkness. As soon as you bring light, darkness will go. The motto of our magazine, Back to Godhead, is Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. This is also the Vedic injunction. Don't remain in darkness, come to the light. So that's what Srila Prabhupada said. So in these two verses that we read today, we understand about the need for the leaders of the society to give up on the sinful activities, that is illicit sex, intoxication, gambling and meat eating. So actually, but we see that the leaders, those who are leaders or rich, prosperous, influential people, they have maximum access and also natural affinity to these vices. Therefore, Kunti Maharani says in her prayers, Janmaishwarya Shrutashribir Yedamana Madhapuman Naivarhati Abhidatum Vai Tvamakinchana Gocharam. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached by only those who are materially exhausted, because one who is on the material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. This is what Kunti Maharani says. In the purport, Prabhupada says, being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family, possessing great wealth, education, and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly, O Govinda, O Krishna. So it seems, according to Kunti Maharani also, that actually for those who are materially opulent, rich, influential, it is very difficult for them to become devotees. But at the same time here, in this verse we see that those people, those influential leaders have to take up Krishna consciousness, especially they have to give up sinful activities. Even Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, Yadyad acharati shreshtas tattadeva taroghana. Whatever an influential man does, the society in general will follow. Therefore, it is important to influence the influencers. So therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord are actually very interested and compassionate to give Krishna consciousness and save such misguided, unfortunate materialists. The most, because although misguided, they are the leaders. They are Shreshtas. If they are changed, the whole world can be changed. So one prime example of that is what we are celebrating every evening today. in this month is the Damodara Leela. So in this Leela, the consequence of this Leela, the next chapter, in the 10th chapter of Krishna book, we see how the great pure devotee, the greatest preacher, Narada Muni, he saved the sons of Kubera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. So in Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada writes in the chapter 10, there is a history behind the pair of the Arjuna trees. We know Krishna, the baby Krishna, when he was tied as Damodara, he took the grinding mortar and he made the Arjuna trees to fall down. He felled these trees. So about these trees, their history Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book. There is a history behind the pair of Arjuna trees. The two great demigods, Devatas, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were the sons of treasurer of the Devatas, Kubera, who was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Kubera's material opulences had no limit. As a rich man's son often becomes addicted to wine and women, so these two Devatas, sons of Kuberas, were also addicted to wine and sex. Once these two Devatas, desiring to enjoy, entered the garden of Lord Shiva in the province of Kailasa on the banks of the Mandakini Ganga. There they drank much and engaged hearing the sweet singing of the beautiful women who accompanied them in that garden of fragrant flowers. In an intoxicated condition, the two Devatas entered the water of Ganga, which was filled with lotus flowers, and there they began to enjoy the company of the young girls. While they were thus enjoying themselves in the water, all of a sudden, Narada Muni, the great sage, happened to pass that way. He could understand that the Devatas Nalakuvara and Manigriva were too much intoxicated and could not even see that he was passing. The young girls, however, were not so much intoxicated as the Devatas, and they at once became ashamed at being naked before the great sage Narada and covered themselves with all haste. The two Devata sons of Kubera were so much intoxicated that they could not appreciate the presence of the sage Narada. Therefore, they did not cover their bodies. On seeing the two Devatas so degraded by intoxication, Narada desired their welfare, and therefore he exhibited his causeless mercy upon them by cursing them. So it's a causeless mercy by cursing them. Because the great sage was compassionate upon them, he wanted to finish their false enjoyment of intoxication and association with young girls, and wanted them to see Lord Krishna face to face. He conceived of cursing them as follows. A person in the material world, when favored by the material opulence of riches, generally becomes addicted to three things: intoxication, sex, and gambling. Materially opulent men, being puffed up with the accumulation of wealth, also become so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses, and they think that they themselves will never die. Such foolish persons, forgetting the laws of nature, become overly infatuated with the body. They forget that the material body, even though very much advanced in civilization, up to the position of Devatas, will finally turn into ashes. When a man is infatuated with the false prestige of opulence, he does not care for any moral instructions, but indulges in wine, women, and animal killing. Therefore, the great sage Narada considered that because the Devatas Nalakuvara and Manigriva were so infatuated by false prestige, they should be put into a condition of life devoid of such opulence. These two young men, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Devata, Kubera. But because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked, but cannot understand that they are naked. Therefore, because they are living like trees, for trees are naked but are not conscious, these two young men should receive the bodies of trees. This will be their proper punishment. Nonetheless, after they become trees, until they are released by my mercy, they will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. Imagine, being trees itself is a punishment. Now, being trees, they can remember what they were before they became trees. Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years by the measurement of Devatas, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, face to face, and thus revive their real position as Devatas. A tree has no consciousness. When it is cut, it feels no pain. But Narada Muni wanted the consciousness of Nalakuvara and Manigriva to continue, so that after being released from the life of trees, they would not forget the circumstances under which they had been punished. Therefore, to bestow upon them special favor, Narada Muni arranged things in such a way that after being released, they would be able to see Krishna in Vrindavan and thus revive their dormant bhakti. Thus, each day of the Devatas in the upper planetary system equals to 6 months in our measurement. And so is the night. So 24 hours of Devatas in 1 year is 1 year of human calculation. So their 1 day is our 1 year. Thus, Nalakuvara and Manigriva stood as Arjuna trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj in Gokula for, in human calculation, 36,500 years. Now, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, to fulfill the truthfulness of the words of the greatest devotee Narada, slowly went to that spot where the twin Arjuna trees were standing. He thought like this: Devarshir me priyatamo yadimau dhanadatmajau tat tatha sadayishyami yadgitam tan mahatmana. Although these two young men are the sons of the very rich Kubera, and I have nothing to do with them, Devarshi Narada is my very dear and affectionate devotee. Therefore, because he wanted me to come face to face with them, I must do so for their deliverance. Nalakuvara and Manigriva had actually nothing to do with devotional service. They had not done any bhakti or seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. They never wanted that also. For this is not an ordinary opportunity. It is not that because one is very rich or learned or was born in an aristocratic family, one will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. That is impossible. But in this case, because Narada Muni desired that Nalakuvara and Manigriva see Vasudeva face to face, the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to fulfill the words of his very dear devotee Narada Muni. So, in conclusion, what does it mean? If one seeks the favor of a devotee, instead of directly asking favors from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is very easily successful. So, if we go to Krishna and directly ask, Krishna, give me this, Krishna, give me that, even if you want spiritual benefit, Krishna will say, who are you? Yeah? Why should I care for you? So therefore, when we go in front of the Lord, we have to introduce ourselves properly. My dear Krishna, if you are initiated, you will say, here is a fallen disciple of Srila Prabhupada. If you are not initiated, you will say, here is a fallen aspiring disciple of Srila Prabhupada, come in front of you, praying to you. Then Krishna will say, oh, acha, ye Srila Prabhupada ka candidate hai. Acha, dekhte hain. So therefore, taking shelter of a pure devotee is so important. So thinking like this, Krishna soon entered between the two Arjuna trees, and thus the big mortar to which he was bound turned crosswise and stuck between them. Thereafter, in that very place where the two Arjuna trees had fallen, He made them fall down. Two great perfect personalities who appeared like fire personified came out of the two trees. And what did they say? Their prayers, let us see. Krishna, Krishna, Mahayogim, Tvamadhya Purusha Paraha, Vyakta Avyaktamidam Vishwam, Rupam Te Brahmana Viduhu. Anujani Nau Bhongmas, Tavanuchara Kinkarau, Darshanam Nau Bhagavata, Risher Asid Anugrahat. O Supreme Form, we are always servants of your servants, especially of Narada Muni. Now give us permission to leave for our home. It is by the grace and mercy of Narada Muni that we have been able to see you face to face. So unless delivered or blessed by a devotee, one cannot realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. According to this verse, there are so many siddhas or yogis, but one cannot understand Krishna. Instead, they misunderstand him. But if one takes shelter of a devotee descending from parampara system of Narada, Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, the Mahatmas, then one can understand who is an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, many pseudo-incarnations are advertised simply for having exhibited some magical performances. But except for persons who are servants of Narada Muni, no one can understand who is God and who is not. No one is delivered from the material conception of life until one is favored by a Vaishnava. Others can never understand, neither by speculation nor by any other bodily or mental gymnastics. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. So, what did Nalakuvara and Manigriva attain after liberation? They were going home, right? So, again they got society girls, went to Ganga, continued. Let us see what they did. After liberation from being trees, they got Krishna consciousness. This is what they say. Henceforward, may all our words describe your leelas. May our ears engage in oral reception of your glories. May our hands, legs and other senses engage in actions pleasing to you. May our minds always think of your lotus feet. May our heads offer our obeisances to everything within this world, because all things are also your different forms. And may our eyes see the forms of Vaishnavas who are non-different from you. This is the consciousness of Nalakuvara and Manigriva after they were liberated from being trees. So after hearing these prayers, Krishna replied to Nalakuvara and Manigriva as follows. The great saint Narada Muni is very merciful. By his curse, he showed the greatest favor to both of you, who were mad after material opulence and who had thus become blind. When one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness for one's eyes. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee, who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. Since you desire to be always absorbed in my devotional service, your desire to develop love and affection for me will be fulfilled, and you will now never fall down from that platform. This was the blessing of Krishna. So therefore, when we sing Damodarashtaka in the evening, every evening during Kartika Masa, we sing the words of Satyavrata Muni. In the 7th shloka of this Damodarashtaka, he says, Kuberatmajau bhadda murtyaiva yadyat tvaya mochito bhakti bhajo krutaucha tatha prema bhaktim swakame prayacha namokshe graho mesti damodareha. Thus, even Satyavrata Muni is praying, I don't want liberation from this body. I don't want to go to Vaikuntha. I just want the same consciousness which is nothing but prema bhakti that you gave to Nalakuvara and Manigriva. The very same consciousness, the very same prema bhakti must be bestowed upon me. I don't desire liberation at all. Oh Lord Damodara, please give me this. So let us also pray to Lord Damodara for the very same boon by following in the footsteps of Nalakuvara, Manigriva and Satyavrata Muni. So, Like this, pure devotees like Narada Muni bestow mercy to those undeserved, even though they are so materially opulent and blind, because if they become to Krishna consciousness, if they become liberated, then you see the glories, because they were sons of Kubera, Nalakubara and Mani. So many ordinary people also would have become devotees, no, during Krishna's time. But because they became, that is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam, they are Shreshtas. Similarly, very closer to 500 years back, when Lord Chaitanya appeared, Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Jagai and Madhai. Prabhupada talks about this in a lecture in Srimad Bhagavatam on October 1st, 1972 in Los Angeles. He says, you have committed so much sinful activities during your material existence, there is no limit. But if you surrender unto me, I immediately make you immune from all reaction of your sinful life. Immediately. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met Jagai and Madhai, you know the story. Their life was sinful. What is that sinful? Illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. This Jagai and Madhai, they were born in nice Brahmana family. But due to bad association, they became drunkards, prostitute hunters, gamblers, and meat eaters. So they were simply creating disturbance. So these people will create disturbance. The whole world is disturbed even now. Why? Because it is full of these sinful men. Drunkards, women hunters, gamblers, and intoxicants. The whole world. And they are expecting peace. Nonsense. Where is peace? First of all, educate them to become sinless. Then you talk of peace. There cannot be peace, Prabhupada says. So these two brothers were creating disturbance on the street. And there was a crowd. So Lord Nityananda saw the crowd and inquired from persons, what is this crowd? So Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they were out for preaching. So people informed, there were two brothers, most sinful. They are creating disturbance. So there is crowd. So immediately Nityananda Prabhu said, why not deliver these two brothers immediately? That will be a great credit for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is preacher. He is thinking the credit of the master, not for himself. He risked his life. And Jagai Madhai brothers hurt him on his head by throwing a stone. So blood also came out. But still, they said, all right, you have hurt me, blood is oozing out. That doesn't matter, you chant Hare Krishna. That is preaching. Nityananda Prabhu said this. Not that I remain safely and chanting Hare Krishna. So importance of preaching, Prabhupada is saying. We have to go out, meet Jagai and Madhai. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Because the world is full of Jagai and Madhai. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very angry, these two people, they injured Nityananda Prabhu, so he became fire-like. So then Nityananda Prabhu stopped Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, my dear sir, this time you have promised not to accept any weapon. This time you wanted to deliver these poor souls. So don't kill them. Excuse them. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Jagai and Madhai, now if you simply give up and if you simply promise that I shall not do any more sinful activities, then I accept you. This is required. When you are initiated, Prabhupada says that is what initiation means. You promise no illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, no gambling. And if you do privately all these things, what kind of man you are? Don't be cheater, be plain. When you promise we shall not do these things, don't do it again. Then you remain in goodness. That's all. Nobody can disturb you. And if you pollute yourself silently, then this goodness will go away. So this is the warning. Once you are initiated, you promise you shall not do all these nonsense, then you remain perfectly in good rest. But if you cheat yourself, cheat your spiritual master, cheat God, then you will be cheated by Maya. So Srila Prabhupada said we should be sincere and serious. So similarly, Prabhupada said we should go out and preach and save thousands and thousands of jagais and madhais in this world. And actually, Prabhupada's disciples, devotees did this. I just want to give you a small instance, one story of what happened in Germany. Because I started the class by talking about Germans, right? They came here to the temple. And our Srila Prabhupada's disciples, devotees, they went to Germany. And how was it preaching Krishna consciousness there? When they come here only, we are finding it difficult to preach. How it would be there? Let us see. This is an excerpt from Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in Germany, a biography. So there, one devotee, Bhakti Bhushana Swami, he is saying, on weekend evenings, we used to go to Hamburg's red light district. You know what is red light area, right? So the devotees used to go weekend evening there. St. Pauli, to chant on the Reeperbahn. This area name was called Reeperbahn. Because it was the only place where there were still many people out on the street. That's why they were going there. Besides being notorious for bars and nightclubs, there were all the dropouts and weirdos hung out there. There were many communes like the one I lived in. Even this devotee, who has become a sannyasi, Bhakti Bhushana Swami, he lived in this area before. So, what happened at that time? People reacted to our chanting in various ways. Some loved us and some hated us. Once in a while, a flower pot would be sent to crash on the sidewalk right next to a devotee. Or someone would flip a cigarette butt at you. Or pour a bottle of beer over your head. The devotees are going on Sankirtan, somebody will come and put bottle of beer on their head. But the devotees' determination could not be swerved. They simply followed in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who had introduced Krishna consciousness amid the dropouts on the Lower East Side of America. One night we were chanting in front of a furniture store when suddenly a huge guy, a drunken sailor, came along and became so agitated that he tried to push us through the shop window. We didn't know what to do, but an even bigger guy appeared on the scene and he punched him in the nose. We took it as Krishna's mercy and quickly walked away. One more devotee, Tamal Krishna Goswami, he says, it is hard to imagine a more degraded, godless place than Hamburg's ill-reputed Reeperbahn. The area abounds in nightclubs, bars, prostitutes, pimps, thugs, and every other type of illicit professional who makes his livelihood catering to the degraded, lusty tastes of the population. By daytime, the area seems almost normal, but at night, it undergoes a nearly total transformation. Then the Reeperbahn becomes a jungle full of ferocious, blood-sucking animals. Into all of this madness, amid the decadence and depravity, we dared. Intrude not. We did not intrude, but as hired musicians under the cover of the name Radha Krishna Temple, but as representatives of God, presenting the naked truth, the holy name of the Lord. We were sadhus, requiring no invitation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order was our calling card. It was as if the sun's movements had suddenly been reversed, and night had become day without prior warning. Our unexpected presence was an unwanted intrusion for these hellish denizens. And these lifetimers of the Reeperbahn were ready to let us know how they felt. From out of the bars came bouncers, barely chested and strongly armed, kicking at us as we danced down the street like maddened dogs attacking a trespasser. From overhead, we were assailed by missiles, rocks and flower pots, hurled down upon us by loud swearing prostitutes. We were sneered at, ridiculed, harassed. The young couples, fun-seeking businessmen, and old lecherous pensioners who had come to spend their money were equally degraded, if not as aggressively hostile. When we approached them for contributions, their breath reeked from liquor. It was without doubt the worst place I had yet encountered, the most difficult of circumstances under which to perform Sankirtan. It was a test of your sincerity. No one would have blamed us for leaving that place and not ever returning. But that would not have reflected the compassion of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, nor the mood of Srila Prabhupada when he had entered alone the equally hellish jungle of New York City. We had to stay and come back the following night. Krishna was watching. So was Srila Prabhupada. If we took such risks, they would give us all protection. So this is the difficulties which devotees took to give Krishna consciousness outside of India. So Srila Prabhupada got one of the most influential Shreshtas, the Beatles, George Harrison. It was said at that time in 1960s, Beatles, they declared once, we are more famous than Jesus Christ. That was their fame. So Professor Hindol Sen Gupta writes in the introduction of his book, The Inspirational Story of Srila Prabhupada, Sing, Dance and Pray, in the biography, he writes like this in the introduction. George Harrison was on a plane from San Francisco, and what happened? Soon after leaving San Francisco, the Learjet seemed like it might crash. It wobbled, sputtered, and rolled in the air. On the aircraft sat a man, whispering to himself. If he died that day, his death would create headlines around the world and a tidal wave of grief from beleaguered fans. Few artists before him or after him have attained the fame that he had already seen with his band. He was a multi-millionaire many times over. As he sat in that plane, George Harrison, famed singer, songwriter, instrumentalist, and one of the Fab Four of the Beatles, faced with the possibility of his death, chanted again and again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This was not unusual. Only a few days ago, Harrison had spent 6 hours in a boat with his fellow Beatle, John Lennon, floating by the waters near Greece, all the while playing a ukulele and singing again and again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Was one of the world's most famous singers of all time, chanting the Krishna mantra in joy, down the Aegean in a boat, or in mortal fear in a plane, tottering in the skies of above San Francisco. By 1967, the Beatles were the world's most famous musical group, on their way to become the biggest selling band of all time, with a record of having sold 600 million albums, which has never been equaled. By the late 1960s, Beatles were also embroiled in drug and alcohol abuse. Some of their personal lives were falling apart. One such interview, George Harrison states, by having money, we found that money was not the answer. Because we had a lot of material things which people sort of spend their whole lives trying to get. We managed to get them at quite an early age. He was just 23 at that time. And it was good really, because we learned that that wasn't it. We still lacked something. And that something is what religion is trying to give to people. The spiritual search had already begun, and they got this record sung by Srila Prabhupada called Krishna Consciousness. In fact, the man who was referred to as Bhaktivedanta Swami, who led the record in Krishna Consciousness, was his first record. Nothing about his background or achievements at that moment could suggest that he could attract the attention of Beatles. But only months later, this chant of an elderly Bengali man from Calcutta was being fervently repeated by George Harrison in his moment of deathly fear. In the years to come, such seemed to be the influence of the elderly monk Srila Prabhupada. Harrison would create more philosophical music in tune with his ever-increasing interest in Indian spirituality, and with songs like Inner Light and a hit album, Living in the Material World, in which the famous song My Sweet Lord also appears. George Harrison created this under the influence of Srila Prabhupada. When George Harrison died in 2001, he was only 58. At his bedside, there are disciples of Srila Bhakti Swami Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada, Mukunda Goswami and Shyam Sundar Das, reading verses of Bhagavad Gita into the ear of this dying singer, where Krishna teaches the lesson of righteousness to the warrior prince Arjuna. Bhaktivedanta Swami had turned out to be one of the most powerful influence in the life of one of the most prominent musicians of all time. So, this is what Srila Prabhupada did by giving Krishna consciousness to someone so influential and was also very sinful, but influenced them with Hare Krishna mantra. In fact, George Harrison's influence was so much after he took to Krishna consciousness that this one song, My Sweet Lord, in which he very discreetly adds the Hare Krishna mantra towards end, that song became such a big chartbuster, blockbuster, that so many people around the world, just by hearing George Harrison's that song, they came to Hare Krishna and they became devotees. Once George came to Prabhupada and asked him, Prabhupada, should I take initiation just like all your devotees, shave up and become devotee like them? So Prabhupada said, why you should take initiation? You are already initiated because you are Hari's son. So Prabhupada knew how to engage him. He thought if he remains there as famous and he continues with his music, he can make more devotees. That was Prabhupada's aim. So, how Krishna consciousness, the treasure we wanted to give, Prabhupada wanted to give, and he engaged everyone. One such devotee who became a devotee by listening to George Harrison's records, and he became a devotee. His name was Kulashekara Prabhu. Not our Kulashekara Prabhu, there was a Kulashekara Prabhu in London. So when Prabhupada came to London, British, they didn't take Prabhupada's they were very surprised why he has come. So they came to the airport, they asked in the lounge, Prabhupada was given a lounge and there was a press conference. So the very famous lecture, arrival address, it is there, where Prabhupada was asked this question, why have you come to London? So Prabhupada said, I have come to give you what you have forgotten. You came to India, you took all our wealth, our diamond, Kohinoor, this wealth, that wealth, but you didn't take Bhagavad Gita, Krishna consciousness, so I have come to give you that. So after saying that, Prabhupada says, see, you took so much pain, so much trouble, you sent so many troops, and you made so much administration, you introduced your Western education, you did this, do that, to, brainwash us, so much so that even today we are talking your language. You did all this and you had to do so much control, but after 150 years you had to leave. And while here you had to engage our own troops, pay them salary, and through them only you controlled our country. But look at me. So Prabhupada saw, when he was talking, he was sitting down on asana and he was giving the press conference. There was one devotee, Kulashekara, who was a British. He was doing chamara, seva to Prabhupada. He was fanning Prabhupada. So Prabhupada looked at him and he said, which country you are from? Kulshekar said, Prabhupada, I am British. Then Prabhupada looked at the press and he said, and you see, I do not even pay him. So in conclusion, if we take Srila Prabhupada's instructions seriously and practice sincerely, we can also similarly influence the leaders of the world, and whole face of the world can change for the better. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll stop here. If you have any questions or comments, you can. Otherwise, we'll stop here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।